Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's What Turns You On webinar. I'm Dr. Alexandra Katehakis, and today is Monday, November 4th, and we're going to talk about body image. So a few things before we start. I want to remind you to type your questions into the Q&A box, and I'll answer them as we go along. Also, be sure to leave us your book reviews or comments on Amazon for What Turns You On. Let us know what you love about the workbook, how you're using it, how maybe you shared it, or any anecdotal things you think would be helpful for other readers. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button below so you never miss a post. You can also keep up with what we're doing by following me on Instagram at Alex Katehakis or at Center for Healthy Sex. This webinar series will explore aspects of my workbook, What Turns You On, a guide to living your best sex life, and is designed to help you get honest with yourself about how you define sex so you can enjoy the kind of touch and sexual activities you really enjoy. And so you can also have explicit and meaningful exchanges with a sexual partner. So just as we formulate opinions about sex, and all of us do based on the messages we get in our family of origin, the time or era that we're living, depending on whether we first saw sexual images in print or internet pornography or a video or a file that somebody showed us. We do formulate opinions about sex, and those influences impact our ideas about sex and sexuality. In fact, sex and sexuality get socially constructed in a culture that we live in, and then we also add to that social construction based on all of those factors that influence us. And that same narrative holds true, and those same factors hold true for how we start to feel about our body and the way we think we should look. And just as our views about sex are unique, the truth is that everyone's body is also unique. And I think I've come to really appreciate that more and more and more over time. And as I've aged, that there's so many different bodies on this planet, and they're all so different. If you just spend the day to day just paying attention to bodies around you, there are going to be people that are shorter, taller, thinner, heavier, rounder, have long waists, short waists, thin arms, thick arms. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And we don't have any control over the body we're given. We're born into the bodies we're given, and the genetic makeups that make them those bodies. But we can alter our relationship with our body through many things like exercise, meditation, yoga, healthy eating, and how we view our body, what we tell ourselves about our body, and other self-care regimens. So it's really important that we be grateful every single day for the body that we have, especially if you are an able-bodied person and you have good health. To be unbelievably grateful every day that you wake up, to say thank you for this body, thank you for the health and the strength, and that I have 2 arms and 2 legs if I'm lucky to have that, and 10 fingers and 10 toes if I'm lucky to have that. And even if you don't have that, if you are able to be in gratitude for what you do have, somebody once reminded me a long time ago that it can always be worse. And that doesn't mean that the situation that I'm in or how I'm hurting isn't bad and it's not meaningful. It is, but it can always be worse. So gratitude is one of the surefire ways to get us out of just about any hole that we feel like we're sinking into. So look at all of your self-care regimens and ask yourself, am I really taking care of this body? They say our body is our temple. So what are you doing to your temple? Are you sweeping it out every day? Do you exercise? Do you eat well? Are you putting garbage into your temple, or are you putting healthy foods into your temple? Do you take care of your hair, your nails, your teeth, all of the bodily parts that you have that make us who we are in part? And regardless of what influences us, such as social media and what we've been told by others, what's important is that we develop a healthy relationship with our body. And so that's what I'm pointing to, the physical body. I haven't talked yet about the emotional, psychological part of the body, but the physical body, the vehicle that drives you around day in and day out, do you care for it? Someone writes, thank you so much for this important talk today. I'm curious about your experience in the intersection of body image, acne scarring as a consequence of acne, and how that might limit how one can have healthy and meaningful sex. Well, typically, when we have acne, we're quite young. I mean, these are teenage years, 15, 16. And I sometimes see people that have terrible acne, and my heart just breaks for them because I know how much shame that brings up for people. And so much of that today can be partially mitigated if people have the means to get the help they need. So, of course, some of it is genetic, some of it is diet. Some of it has to do with stress hormones. So being able to get to a good dermatologist, to have a parent who can help with this problem and to get the early intervention needed, is super, super helpful. And then later in life, many adults who have had cystic acne, who have scarring, seek out laser treatments and things that help smooth the surface of the skin down. And some people can have really great results with that. Other people have medium results with it. Some people can't afford to do it at all. So finding the external mechanisms that can help you smooth out your skin if you have had scarring from acne is the first order of business as an adult. But the other has to do with what I was going to talk about shortly, which is how much this is an internal process, that how we feel about ourselves, if whether we feel good or beautiful, is really about how we talk to ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we treat ourselves. So let's come back to this very good question in context later. It's sad to see so many people have crippling body images to which their only solution is that I've got to look better. I've got to lose weight. I've got to get in better shape. I have to cut my hair, grow my hair, dye my hair, stop dyeing my hair. Um, and all of that can just become maddening because we're all built into the bodies that have innumerable differences, such as shape and size of various body parts. So to deny any aspect of your actual body and its functions is to really cut yourself off from life and from reality, not only from your own, but from others as well. So how do you get into self-acceptance about this body that you have? Because bodily ideals diverge wildly. They can challenge and judge every individual, even people who we deem as beautiful. Aesthetic standards can encourage healthy self-improvement, but they can also impair self-acceptance. So where does your aesthetic standard come from? Does it come from your own self, or that you're comparing yourself to people in film and television and movies? All of those people, when you see in person, are just kind of regular flesh and blood people, and they have imperfections also. We have constant proof of our bodily failings. Just look at any magazine. And, I've always said that if you feel bad after you look at a fashion magazine, then the magazine is doing its job because they want to sell you this image of perfection, image of beauty. Their exalted, unrealistic senses of one's body perfection. And that cannot be substituted for a realistic, healthy body image. So if you feel good in your body, then you can be grateful that you've done a good job, that you took care of your body today. You went for a walk, you went to yoga, you went to the gym. You did something physical to move your limbs and strengthen your heart, by the way, also. It's not just your physical external body, but what it's doing for your organs internally and your blood circulation. And be grateful that you are able to move today. So, how can you separate your identity from your body and show your body as much kindness and compassion as you might show a guest that was in your house? If you aim to grow your psychological capacity for healthy relationships, learning to love your body unconditionally is a good place to start. After all, you are rather attached to it. So let's take a look at these different components. Do you have a favorite bodily feature? So think about that. Do you have a favorite part of your body? Maybe your hands, your feet, your nails, your hair, your chest, your stomach. What's your favorite part of your body? And then what would you change about your physical appearance if you could? And then can you move into acceptance and gratitude for all of your body parts? All of them. And if not, why not? What do you need in order to do so? Many times, this dislike of the body has to do with messages we got early on in our childhood. Messages from a parent or a sibling or neighborhood kids that, you were too skinny or your hair, in my case, was too frizzy. I grew up in an area where there were very few, if any, ethnic kids. I was really the only ethnic kid in my neighborhood, and certainly one of few in my high school. Everyone else was much more Anglo-Saxon, if you will. And so I always felt like I had a big nose and frizzy hair, and I hated my hair, and I hated my features, all of it. And so it was very painful. And I felt very other growing up as a result of that and insecure. And it took me a long time to grow into my looks because there's that awkward age, like 13 and 14, which is just a terribly awkward age. And then if you have braces or any other kind of brace on your body, it's 10 times worse. But it took me a really long time. And also the culture changed also as I got older to start to recognize that I had a particular brand of beauty that I had to embrace, that I had to be okay with because it was all I got. Sure, I could have straightened my hair, bleached my hair blonde, had all kinds of facial plastic surgery. But I'm sure that would have been, well, pretty freaky if I think about it now. But at the time, that wasn't even on my radar to do. I wouldn't have known to do any of that. So in the workbook, What Turns You On, I ask people that are using the workbook to stand in front of a mirror and ask, what does it look like? What's it like to look at this body? When I stand in a mirror and look at this body, what do I see? And then what happens if you stand naked in front of the mirror? From head to toe, looking at your hair, your forehead, your eyes, your nose, your lips, your cheekbones, your neck, your chest, your shoulders, breasts, belly, genitals, thighs, legs, feet, hands, arms, all of it. What feelings come up for you? Do you feel different from before when you were clothed? What kind of feelings come up for you? And use a journal to write about these things so you can start to look at and listen. What specific feelings about specific body parts come up for you? And take some time to really go through this and break it down. So someone writes, I worked hard to heal my childhood and trauma with respect to feeling unloved and unseen in all aspects. When I did this exercise in the workbook, I was surprised at how much I still did not like it, to not like. I really want to be able to love myself as I am. So that is deeply painful because when we are unloved and unseen in all aspects in childhood, it leaves us feeling broken and dirty inside. And there's nothing broken and dirty inside. These are actually circuits that are uncoupled between the brain and the body. And it's shame. It's all wrapped in shame. And so I'm asking you to really start to deconstruct that shame. And I know this exercise is really hard. It's like diving into the deep end first. And so, in fact, this morning I talked to somebody about taking a picture of yourself when you were younger, where you see your beauty in that young person. Maybe it was when you were really little, or when you were 10 years old, or 15 years old, or 18 years old, or somewhere in your 20s. Find a picture of yourself where you can see the beauty in that child, in that young person, and tape it to your bathroom mirror so you see it every single day. And then look at that image every morning when you wake up and before you go to sleep at night, and tell that child, that teenager, that young person that they're beautiful. See the beauty in that young person, because that person is in you. It is you, until you can graduate to start to look at yourself in the mirror, to make eye contact with yourself and to say, I love who you are. I love who you are. You are beautiful. And start to feel the shame that you bump up against, which is what this person's writing about here. You're going to bump up against a wall of shame. It's going to feel terrible for you initially. But every day, day in and day out, start to make contact with that child inside of you. Start to see the beauty in your eyes, the sparkle in your eyes. Stop judging and notice the pain and the shame that comes up, and maybe even the tears, and let all of that out, because that's what's blocking your own inner beauty. So someone asks a question here. Can you address the effects of porn in one's bedrooms? Many years of porn influenced unhealthy sex in my bedroom. What now can be, how can we move forward as he's in recovery? My body is holding on to the trauma. I've done lots of therapy in EMDR, 3 years plus into recovery. We've been trying sensate focused therapy with slow success. Well, this is, again, an inside job. Nobody can make us feel more beautiful than we can make us feel ourselves. No one. And no one can love us the way that we can love ourselves. I always say that self-love is a love that no one can take from you. It's not contingent upon anybody else. It does not come and go. So these are solid practices every single day. Meditation, daily affirmation, which is really about faking it till you make it, as they say. But how can you start to affirm that you are beautiful and not compare yourself to any single person in the world but yourself? And to be in reality about it also, that you are beautiful at this age. At this age, I am not 20 years old beautiful. I'm middle-aged beautiful for how I feel internally. And it's not about peacocking or strutting around or wearing inappropriate clothes for people to look at you to get external validation. That can look kind of strange and weird also. It's really about this communing with oneself, this daily affirmation of, I'm so deeply grateful to be alive today. I mean, so many people in the world are suffering. They don't have clean clothes, let alone a bed to sleep in. I mean, just look at a homeless person on the street on any given day, and imagine how internally confused and how much pain they're in. There's no way to feel beauty in that. But look at the beauty you see around you every day. It is an unbelievably beautiful fall day here in LA today. The light is golden. The wind is slightly blowing. It's warm also at the same time. And to take in that beauty, that natural beauty, and recognize it as your own beauty is a practice. So every time you see a flower, every time you see a tree, every time you see a fall leaf, and it takes your breath away and you say, oh, wow, that's so beautiful. That is your beauty, because we are not separate from our bodies. The mind and body are one. We are not separate from the trees, the sky, the earth, the planet that we inhabit. even though patriarchal structures would like us to think that we are, so that we consume more and buy more and throw more away and burn down the rainforests. But we're not. We feel pain when we see that kind of assault on the earth, do we not? We feel pain when we hear about our friends and family members in North Carolina who had to suffer gravely through these hurricanes last month, because we recognize that we are part of the earth. And so when we see the earth scrambled and raped and ruined, we feel it in our bodies. And likewise, if you can feel the beauty around you and breathe it in and recognize that that is my beauty, that is my strength, that is my perfection, that is my loveliness, then you start to feel more whole and more complete. So forget about those pornographic images. It's just junk. It's junk food. Those people are acting. They're doing an acting job that they're paid to do if they're lucky, or they're doing it for whatever reasons they're doing it. And maybe they enjoy it, maybe they don't, but it's not you. And you're never going to look like that. And why would you want to? You know, Oscar Wilde said, be yourself because everyone else is taken. Just be yourself. Be Find ways to engage your own sensuality and bring that to your sexuality. And either your partner will want it or they won't. Now, obviously, there are books that you can read. There are tantric teachers that you can work with. You can go to Don Cartwright's website and look at the tantric offerings she has that help women get more embodied in their body and reclaim their sexuality. Yes, you can do all of that. But on a day in and day out basis, I want you to find ways to affirm yourself, to affirm your beauty, your sensuality, your sexuality, and to be grateful as you look in the mirror for each one of these body parts, your beautiful eyes, your beautiful eyelashes, your beautiful skin, whether you have scars from life or not, who cares? That's a part of the fabric of who you are. Your beautiful gray hairs, if you're not dyeing them like I am. Just be in gratitude for all of it and affirm all of who you are and see what comes up for you. So I hope you're thinking about the ways in which you can contact your beauty on a given day. Be grateful for every single body part that you have every single day. Start to journal about what you like, what you don't like, and start to look closely. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself with clothes on. What do you see? Take pieces of clothing off. What do you see? Notice when you start to bump against shame, and just take a breath and say, oh, wow, that's shame. See if you can start to take in compliments. Give compliments. Notice what happens when you give a compliment. Does that make you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel stingy giving compliments? Do you feel like it's too much? And what happens when you get a compliment back? Are you able just to take a breath and say thank you and not push it away in any way, shape, or form, but just thank you and breathe that in and feel it, because that is one of the things that will help dismantle some of this shame also. All right. So be good to yourself. Be kind to every single part of your body. Take it in. Be in gratitude for this beautiful mind and body that you have, and take care of it as you go along. Someone writes, my wife and I have worked really hard at healing betrayal trauma, and she's even gone on hormone therapy specialist to help with her desire. I've advised her that I'm working in this workbook. I'm really terrified to discuss my fantasies. Well, I think I can see why that would be. Just a little qualification here that this book was never meant for people that were in early recovery by any means. So I think you might be working in Sexual Reflections, which is really the workbook for people in recovery from sex addiction. But instead of diving into the fantasies, I think you might want to have a conversation with her about whether she's open to talking about fantasies. If she's willing to talk about her own sexual fantasies. Does she have sexual fantasies? If not, what does she think happened to them? Is she afraid to talk about them because she's afraid what you're going to think about them or that it might trigger or activate you? So this is a conversation to be had with the two of you where you talk about your talking, you talk about whether she's open to the sexual fantasies or not. She may not be ready for that now. I would also suggest and highly recommend that your sexual fantasies include her, that the two of you talk about fantasies that you can share together so that you're not off in some mild to moderately dissociative place that doesn't include her or what she wants. So take the risk, but talk about your talking before you talk about the thing itself first. Any advice for dealing with extreme weight loss and the loss of curves and skin sagginess that accompanies it? Well, I think that's probably more for uh, you to talk about with a healthcare professional, because I don't know, medically exactly what to do with that or aesthetically. Um, but you're going to have to find a way if you can't get, let's say, aesthetic help, because I'm sure people have general plastic surgery for that. I'm not sure. I think probably that's the case. But if that is not something that interests you or within your means, then I would ask you, how do you make sense of, and how do you not make sense, but how do you come into acceptance for the body that you have now? And what are the things that you can do about that? And how do you find partners that will be in acceptance of the body as you have it right here and right now today? So I would think doing a little bit more research, reading, getting comfortable with yourself, starting to be in the world. Of course, now is not the time of year, but in the summertime, for example, finding a bathing suit that makes you feel good in your body and starting to go out into the world to a beach or a lake, and be in acceptance of your body first. Because once you're in acceptance of it, then the people around you will be also. But you're going to have to do some work when it comes to journaling, looking at yourself, finding clothes that make you feel great about yourself. Those are the starting points. Someone says, I apologize for the last minute question on body image. Can you please discuss body image, racialized bodies and healthy sex? So we've been talking about body image, but you're talking about racialized bodies and healthy sex. If you could ask a more specific question, that would be really helpful. Because that, of course, is a huge topic, trauma and racialized body image and sex for sure. That's like a podcast in and of itself. Okay, so I think those were the questions. Um, so she says, I'll wait for that podcast. Yes, I would say that if you are a person of color, and it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, that there's always racialized eroticism, or racial bodies, Black bodies, brown bodies, Asian bodies are often eroticized inappropriately. And so you have to find a way to celebrate the body that you have, be in acceptance and comfortable with the body that you have, and make sure you're choosing partners who aren't just choosing you because of the color of your skin or the shape of a particular body part because of the racial or ethnic group you come from. And that is really a form of self-care. So I don't know if that's where you were going with this, but it really is a form of self-care, making sure that you're not putting yourself in harm's way, you're not letting yourself be used for a particular part of yourself, that you're a full person, a whole mind and body, that you got what you got and you've made the best of it and you're in gratitude for it. That is the ultimate form of self-love and self-care, I think. All right, so thank you for this lively conversation today. I hope you all take heed and go out into the world, see the beauty, recognize that that is an absolute reflection of your own beauty. Treat yourself kindly, learn to work with the shame that's keeping you from seeing how beautiful you actually are. So I hope you have a beautiful Thanksgiving. because Thanksgiving is a great place to give thanks and be grateful for your body and who you are, your body mind, if you will. Be safe, and I look forward to talking to you in December. Thank you.